step into the gallery, but there is no marble chill, no scent of oiled canvas or polished wood. Instead, there's the low, almost imperceptible hum of cooling fans, the clean electric scent of ionized air. Light doesn't fall the art, it radiates it. We are standing in a space that feels both infinite and intimate, a new digital gallery experience, where the familiar hum of servers replaces the hushed reverence of physical halls. The air, once thick with the frantic, almost desperate energy of speculative bids and the cacophony of Discord price alerts, now carries the quiet, focused intensity of renewed creation. This is not the casino floor of 2021. This is a studio. This is a sanctuary. Before us, a piece by the anonymous artist known only as Vector flickers into being. It's not a static image or a looping GIF. It's a generative ecosystem titled A Digital Terrarium, where crystalline structures grow, erode, and reform based on real-time atmospheric pressure data pulled from a remote weather station in Iceland. Each pixel is a decision, a line of code responding to a whisper of wind half a world away. We're not witnessing a mere market rebound, a simple bounce in the price of Ethereum that has re-energized dormant wallets. This is a profound reevaluation of digital art's intrinsic value, a phoenix rising from the pixelated ashes of a volatile and, for many, ruinous market. The tension is palpable, hanging in the charged air between observer and algorithm. Can genuine artistic merit, the slow, deliberate process of creation and conceptual depth, finally eclipse the long, distorted shadow of pure financial speculation? To understand the depth of this reclamation, we must first revisit the wreckage. The first wave of the NFT boom was a gold rush driven by a potent cocktail of technological novelty, crypto wealth, and viral memetics. It was a market built on hype cycles, where aesthetic value was often secondary to community affiliation and the promise of exponential returns. Profile picture projects with their algorithmically generated variations of cartoon apes and pixelated punks became the dominant visual language. As critic Eleanor Vance wrote in her post-mortem essay, "We were not buying art, we were buying lottery tickets with faces." The subsequent crash, the so-called crypto winter, was not just a financial correction, it was an aesthetic and philosophical purge. It washed away the froth, the get-rich-quick schemes, and the projects with no substance beyond a roadmap of vague promises. What remained were the builders, the true believers, the artists who were exploring the digital medium long before a token could be attached to it. They were using the blockchain not as a get-rich-quick scheme, but as a new kind of canvas, a new tool for interrogating ideas of permanence, identity, and ownership in a digital world. The artists who endured this winter were forced into a period of introspection. Their work became more complex, more personal, and less concerned with the fleeting demands of a speculative market. They began to explore the very nature of the medium itself, the beauty of the code, the potential of generative systems, the poetics of the algorithm. Vectors is a direct response to this period. The artist's statement, embedded directly into the NFT's metadata, reads, "The market demanded static icons of wealth, but nature, both real and digital, is a system of constant, unpredictable flux. This is an argument for art that lives, breathes, and decays, indifferent to the price chart. This is a radical departure. The value is not in its rarity trait or its potential for a quick flip, but in its perpetual, unfolding performance. It's a piece that rewards patience and observation, qualities that were in short supply during the boom. The composition, a delicate balance of procedural generation and curated aesthetics, speaks to a newfound maturity. The color palette is not the oversaturated neon of early crypto art, but a subtle, mineral-inspired range of grays, ochres, and deep blues that shift with the passing digital weather. It is art that asks for your time, not just your crypto. What truly survived the market's winter? Extending that inquiry into survival, we find the answer not in the chaotic individualism of the past, but in a deliberate, almost architectural move towards structure and shared purpose. The digital art world is embracing order. We move from Vector's solitary, meditative piece to a different kind of interface. This isn't a singular artwork, but a governance portal. We are looking at a proposal for the Axiom Collective, a decentralized autonomous organization where proposals for new acquisitions and exhibitions are being voted on in real time by token holders around the globe. This isn't a top-down gallery model. It's a community-curated museum built on smart contracts and collective consensus. This is the crucial pivot. Artists and platforms are building robust ecosystems that prioritize artistic intent, long-term vision, and meaningful community engagement over the transient thrill of quick flips. Exhibition catalogs, which are now often dynamic, on-chain documents themselves, detail not just the provenance of a piece, its creation date, its transaction history, but its NFT. This term, once a marketing buzzword, has been radically redefined. It no longer means mere access to a private Discord channel or a whitelist spot for the next drop. Today, utility is a bridge between the digital and the tangible, a set of rights and experiences woven into the fabric of the artwork itself. Imagine owning a token that grants you a one-on-one virtual studio visit with the artist every year, or a generative artwork whose code evolves based on input from its specific owner, making the collector a collaborator in the piece's life. Consider a project where ownership of a master token grants voting rights on the parameters of future works in the series, effectively making the community patrons and creative directors. This isn't just about owning a token that points to a JPEG on a server. It's about participating in a living, breathing art ecosystem. This shift is being championed by platforms that survived the winter by doubling down on their core principles. SuperRare, for example, has refined its artist selection process, moving towards a gallery-style model where a committee of curators and established artists vets new talent, ensuring a baseline of quality and conceptual rigor. Their Spaces initiative allows community members to run their own independent galleries on the platform, fostering a diverse ecosystem of curatorial voices. Similarly, ArtBlocks, the pioneering platform for on-chain generative art, has continued to emphasize the technical and aesthetic innovation of its curated projects. The detailed project descriptions, artist interviews, and transparent display of the code itself educate collectors, transforming them from speculators into connoisseurs. This focus on education and curation cultivates a more discerning collector base, one that seeks enduring cultural capital over short-term financial gain. As art historian Dr. Lena Petrova argues in her recent paper for The Dio, we are witnessing the emergence of the digital patron. Unlike the passive investors of the boom, this new class of collector is actively engaged in the cultural production and preservation of the art they acquire. Their investment is as much intellectual and social as it is financial. This model finds its roots not in tech utopianism, but in centuries of art history. The DAOs and artist-led collectives of today are the digital descendants of the Florentine guilds of the Renaissance, the Parisian salons, and the artist-run cooperatives of the 20th century. They are all attempts to create self-sustaining economic and creative systems outside the control of a centralized authority. But as these new structures solidify, they raise new complex questions. How does this new utility translate into enduring value beyond fluctuating market metrics? If an artwork's value is tied to an experience, what happens when the artist is no longer able to provide it? And as these curated systems and DAOs gain influence, do they risk becoming the very gatekeepers they were designed to replace? From that landscape of evolving utility, where value is increasingly tied to experience and access, we turn our gaze inward to the very substrate of this revolution, the blockchain itself. We are no longer just looking at art that is cataloged to the blockchain. We are looking at art that the blockchain. The ledger is no longer merely a certificate of authenticity. It is becoming the medium. Before us, a piece by the artist Anya Sharma, titled Lines, is rendering. It begins with a single transaction, the mint. The unique hash of that transaction, a long string of alphanumeric characters, becomes the seed for the entire artwork. We watch as the algorithm, living entirely on the chain, interprets that seed. Lines of code blossom into form and color. The gas fee paid, the exact time of the transaction, the number of the block it was included in, all of these seemingly sterile data points are transmuted into aesthetic decisions. The pace is not a pre-rendered file uploaded to a server. It is a set of instructions, a digital recipe that is executed immutably and transparently by the network itself. This is the radical frontier of on-chain art, where the code, the artwork, a self-contained entity that exists permanently on the immutable ledger, independent of any centralized server that could one day be shut down. This approach redefines authenticity and provenance in the most profound way imaginable. There is no question of forgery. The work's entire history and its very being are one and the same, permanently recorded and publicly verifiable. This is not an entirely new idea, but a powerful evolution of a 20th century concept. In the 1960s, the conceptual art movement, led by artists like Sol LeWitt, posited that the idea or the concept behind a work was more important than the finished physical object. LeWitt created wall drawings that consisted of a set of instructions. The museum or collector who acquired the work acquired the right to execute those instructions. The art was the idea, not the specific hand that drew the lines. On-chain generative art is the ultimate fulfillment of this vision. The artist writes the instructions, and the blockchain, a decentralized, trustless global computer, is the one that flawlessly executes them. The artwork is both the set of instructions and its perpetual, perfect execution. This shift is forcing a massive recalibration within the traditional art world. Institutions, once deeply wary and skeptical of the NFT space, are now making significant acquisitions and grappling with the unique challenges of digital preservation and exhibition. Curators at MoMA, the Centre Pompidou, and the Tate are no longer just asking if a digital work has artistic merit. They are asking fundamental ontological questions. How do you display a piece of art that is a self-executing script? Do you show a static snapshot, a live feed of its execution, or the raw code itself? How do you conserve a work that is designed to exist on a constantly evolving network? The conversation has irrevocably shifted from what is an NFT to the far more thrilling question, what new forms of art, what new aesthetic experiences can the blockchain enable? The canvas has not just been digitized, it has evolved into a dynamic, autonomous, and permanent new substrate for human creativity. The blockchain is not just the marketplace, it is the museum, the vault, and the medium itself. The echo of this modern moment is not the sound of a closing bid, but the quiet, persistent hum of a world being coded into existence.